Kelly is having a remarkable recovery from things that were told to be incurable.
When her hands started drying up, I was just thrilled beyond words. Because she first came in, she had white gloves on that were soaking through with blood. You could see the pain on her face just to move her hands.
Oh my gosh.
So it's been remarkable. But she was a case of that was the fire. And we were able to kind of quench the fire while we were getting rid of the arsonist.
Welcome to the Deeper Healing Podcast. I'm your host, Danielle Howley. This is for everyone who's been dismissed, misdiagnosed, or told to just live with it and refuse to accept that answer. You're going to hear amazing patient recovery stories, raw and real in their own words. People who found answers after everything had failed them. You're going to hear from medical experts we trust that are pioneering new approaches to healing the body because we deeply know we're designed to heal. Let's dig in. Hi, everybody. Okay, I'm here today with Kelly. I love her. Kelly's got literally the craziest story. And I'm like, we got to put this out there. So, and we can kind of just do it interview style. But one of the things that is wild about Kelly's story is she had no idea what this deep dive at Deeper Healing was going to uncover. And it uncovered it about her mom, her brother, her entire town she grew up in. So how did you first find Deeper Healing?
I had been experiencing extreme exhaustion and brain fog.
Okay.
To the point where like my children would say something to me and they would just fall and I couldn't process it. And I'm like, putting the keys in the fridge and this kind of stuff. My husband's first making fun of me and then we're like, something's wrong.
You're way too young.
Way too young. Too young for that.
And
just, 2, 3 in the afternoon, I'm done for the day type of exhaustion.
okay.
And a friend of mine had come here, had excellent results.
So you're like, I want to do the deep dive and see what's going
So
on.
that's what I did.
So blood panel, probably a mycotoxin test, and then the metals test.
I did the metals recently. So I've been coming here for over a year and I had held off on this. Just chased down some other things because I had developed this horrific and supposedly incurable case of psoriasis on my hands where my hands were torn open and blistering and bleeding for like a year. And so we were chasing that down and some other stuff. And Dr. B had me I did cleanses and I did LDA and the LDA actually did cure this. So
It's funny. Every night, I literally watch the psoriasis commercial, the drug commercials for psoriasis, like on repeat every night. And it's like side effect death. I'm like, what the heck? I just wanted my skin cleared up.
my daughter watches that because she knows what I went through.
Same.
She's like, oh my gosh. Involuntary.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm glad that cleared up. Okay. So it's interesting too that you like kind of to do the metals testing because a lot of people do this. They're like, I just want to do one thing at a time. And then some people are like, give me it all. Like I'm doing that with my son right now. He's getting all his testing done and it's going to be the big reveal.
Well, it's smart because here we are and I get this metals test done and Dr. B looks at me and he goes, you have the highest aluminum I've ever seen. And I'm like, what?
So Kelly tells me this. I'm like, okay, whoa, I know he's seen some high aluminum. What's going on with you?
I'm thinking it's going to be lead from some things in my childhood that would have made me think, well, I obviously have lead toxicity. I have the highest aluminum. I don't drink pop out of cans. I drink out of glass bottles. We have reverse osmosis water. I'm like, what?
And so this is wild how she connects it out. So her aluminum's off the charts. He's like, where did you grow up? Okay, this is where like head explode. Okay. So you grew up in Westchester?
I grew up in Westchester, Illinois. And as it turns out, someone else here is from that area and says to me, did you know that the Reynolds aluminum plant was like a couple miles from our house in the 80s? No, I did not. But let's chase that down, shall we?
So the largest aluminum foil.
One of the top 10 in the country.
Manufacturing it.
Yes.
So the excess waste from the manufacturing basically went into all the waterways.
Yes. So this plant's a half mile from the Des Plaines River. And apparently at its peak in the 80s. So like y'all, any of you Gen X kids who drank out of the garden hose, guess what we were drinking? Didn't know it. My dad grew the tomatoes in the backyard, all that plume under the houses. I did some research on this because I couldn't believe it. It was like a 3.2 million square foot facility. It said every time it rained, like 300 pounds of aluminum and 50 pounds of, I think, chromium, zinc, and copper getting dumped into the waterways, into the river, the dust coming off of it, you're breathing it, drinking it out of your hoses. If you had well water, drinking it out of the well water.
I mean, how many millions of people do you think in Illinois have been affected by this?
Well, I can't even, I mean,
Like this is like, I'm trying to take that in. I'm like, okay. And then there's like the downriver.
well, where else did it go? Right.
Right,
It doesn't go off into the Des Plaines River and the soil is impacted by it. Okay. Because apparently in the early 2000s, the EPA went in and took like 100,000 cubic yards of affected soil out. So that's how they know some of the figures. But this is what, 20 plus years later.
Yeah. And now everyone's just living.
And
there.
now everyone's just living and like, I would have never known this. I know for a fact my brother doesn't know this.
So tell me, okay, so now you're going backwards and connecting dots.
Well, yeah,
with
okay.
your mom and
even
brother.
just growing up as a kid, like I was always a rashy kid. My mom's like, oh, I had to wash your hair over the sink because shampoo would make your back break out in a rash.
Mhm.
I told Dr. Beal I haven't been able to wear a traditional deodorant since I was like 20 because it would make me break out in a rash. It was like, oh, that's because you're sensitized to aluminum. And I've always been and didn't know. So he goes, I don't know how this went away with that aluminum in your body.
Yeah, that's wild. So it's just getting your load down a little bit and then retraining the immune system with LDA was enough to calm that down. But thank God you didn't say, oh, I heal. Like, I still want to check this too. Thank God.
Well, because all of my symptoms aren't gone. I mean, I'm making progress, but I'm still struggling with things. And he's looking at, because he's diving into everything, he's looking at some other panels and going, all right, we're getting this under control, but why is this here? Why is this here? And then we're looking at this and he's like, oh, your immune system's like been on fire. Probably for your whole life.
Probably your whole life.
And I've had autoimmune issues for my entire life.
And how would you weren't like, if you weren't digging in the way you're digging in here, if you were at a different practice, it would be a lot of like diet and supplements and pushing back on you, not getting to.
And giving you IV immunosuppressants.
Right.
I mean, that's like the number one. I was told, incurable, just put steroids on it. And the steroids made it worse. The steroids made like blisters of all my fingers.
So painful. So painful.
So I'd be on immunosuppressants. And
This is
sick
the
all the
thing.
time.
We know how many people, if the commercials are running nonstop every night,
Right.
we know that this is millions of people.
And it's like heartbreaking because I see the moms all the time. My child has eczema. My child's suffering from this, from that. And it's like the steroid creams and the bleach baths and all this stuff that they have the kids do. And it's like, how many people are little kids like me who were you're a rashy kid?
Yeah.
I just always thought, well, I'm a rashy kid.
That's just the way you are.
Yeah.
Now you're reviewing everything from your childhood. Tell me about your mom. What happened to your mom?
So my parents bought this house in like the late 70s. I was born in 79. My brother was born in 85. And somewhere after my brother was born, my mother developed agoraphobia and panic disorder. She used to be a nurse. She quit working, has never gone back to work. She couldn't get off the floor. She couldn't leave the house. She ended up on all kinds of medication. And, we just thought, people, that happens to people. She has anxiety.
Never crossed your mind.
Poisoning was not on the list. And to this day, I mean, she's in her 70s now. She's been on benzos for 40 years and she's getting dementia and she's mad. She knows it's from that. She said to me on the phone, I hate that I'm losing my mind. And I know it's from these drugs and I can't get off of them.
I'm so sorry.
It's mind-blowing to think of the downstream of all this stuff that's all connected. And you can grow up there your whole life and
never connect the dots.
But I never knew it was even there.
This is such an important story because I can tell you, like, even where I grew up, they dumped all the asbestos in the whole northern region. They dug a hole and they put all the asbestos in the hole and covered it with water and put a chain link fence around it. And that was just in Pennsylvania. So these things, I mean, that is a designated Superfund site. I don't even know if yours is even designated.
I don't think so.
And yours is just like, oh, that happened. It's gone now and everything's cool.
They went in and cleaned up some soil and we cleaned it.
What happened to your brother? Because you're like, wait a minute. I think this has had an effect.
Well, is it connected, right? I mean, my brother has suffered from a lot of things too. And he's 40 and he can't work. He has a lot of anxiety and issues like that as well.
This has a direct effect on your brain. So, I mean, it makes sense. You need to check smells.
It's the first thing I thought of was, oh my gosh, my brother has to do this.
Yeah.
He has to do chelation.
I'm saying this to my brothers and sisters too. Like my lead's so high and I now have definitely traced it back to my childhood because my daughter, who I had when I was 30, already has the levels that I have. So I'm like, okay, this is like 30 and under was when this happened. So now I'm going back to my 4 siblings. Hey guys, you got to check your meds. This is such a giant, giant thing. If you are in your midlife and you are having any of the things, can't think of the word, I'm tired all the time.
Yeah.
I have these skin conditions.
All these rashes.
You know?
They said also fragile bones, broken bones all the time. I didn't have broken bones. Mine manifested in other ways, but all of these symptoms that you just wouldn't place on aluminum that's in your water runoff, in your soil.
Crazy.
And
Literally
I
crazy.
just kept thinking all the jokes, the Gen Xers were always joking about the garden hoses.
I know.
And my kids don't believe it.
I know.
I'm like, no, seriously, in the summer, you just went to the
you-
side of the hose, you drank the water, and you moved on with your day.
All right, you guys. So this is just a really important story for anybody out there who's suffering from a lot of weird stuff. It may be environmental toxins from where you grew up. And anybody who grew up in Illinois, have a look at Westchester, have a look at the Reynolds factory.
Yeah.
And you need to get your metals checked. I don't know how to put this out to your area, but this is something very important for people who live there or who have lived there.
Absolutely.
So, all right. Thanks, guys. Hi, everybody. Okay. We just heard from Kelly, her incredible aluminum poisoning story. And it's like, where do we even go? There's literally 10 directions you can go with that.
Really, Kelly was very interesting. She was literally the highest aluminum level I'd ever seen. And I've seen a lot of aluminum levels. And aluminum's particularly interesting as that because it's so pervasive in our society. Cans, containers. It's literally been using a Reynolds wrap for since I was a little kid.
Well, it's funny. We all talk about the cooking in the aluminum or the drinking from cans, but we never think about
wrapping your food in aluminum.
Well, no, you never think about growing up next to a factory that's been closed for 20 years.
Yeah.
That's not something I would even what?
Well, and these chemicals don't just magically disappear when the factory closes. They're still there.
Yeah, they kind of just did a little scooping off the topsoil in that area.
Yeah. And it takes a lot more than that to get rid of, decades worth of production. Kelly was interesting on several levels. One is early on, she was showing those signs of sensitivity, having been sensitized to aluminum. So you use a deodorant, you get a rash. She was a rashy kid. A lot of, aluminum is also so pervasive in our society, it's easy to come in contact with it. And then she mentioned her mother with the Alzheimer's. In medical school, they talked to us about aluminum being a cause for Alzheimer's, dementia specifically. And aluminum will cross the blood-brain barrier. Aluminum has literally some of the same chemical components or some of the same chemical pathways as iron in our body. Most aluminum is stored in bone. And this is why, even though Kelly's exposure had been as a child, the half-life of aluminum in the body is considered to be somewhere in the area of 50 years.
Okay.
So she wasn't 60 years old yet. So stuff she was exposed at 10, she hadn't even gotten rid of half of. Most of the aluminum, 60% of the aluminum you accumulate is held in your bone. Well, your bone turns over at about 10% a year. So you're constantly re-releasing aluminum back into your system, re-emphasizing that sensitivity and re-emphasizing the possibility of eventually, on top of everything else that you're exposed to in the chemical world, beyond metals. I mean, you've got, we now have 7.1 trillion pounds of chemicals being made a year, up from 1.2 million in the 60s. We've got indoor air pollution, off-gassings.
It's always the body burden. It's always the body burden. Yeah. The brilliant name of the movie about deeper healing, body burden.
Yeah. At some point, the manifestations are there and they're persistent. That whole idea, let's suppress the immune system.
Oh, God, we got to talk about that. That makes my head go on fire every night. I know y'all are watching those commercials every night, which is this is the best. You're sick, you have psoriasis, and it's showing the sores, and they're literally running on the beach on a happy day. And it's well, here's your immunosuppressant.
Yeah.
Will destroy your ability to take care of yourself. And then here's all the side effects, side effect death. Literally the side effects are horrible, but those commercials are running nonstop. So I'm we must have an epidemic of eczema and psoriasis because every other commercial is about the skin conditions every night.
Well, skin has a fairly rapid turnover. So we're replacing it on a fairly regular basis. So certainly changes in our physiology, changes in our and the reproducibility of our organs, which is ongoing, is gonna one of the manifestations would be skin. A lot of this, eczema, psoriasis is considered autoimmune, which
Mm,
is why they put you on immunosuppressants. It doesn't make sense to
it
me.
doesn't make sense to me.
You want to know why your immune system isn't working, and here you kind of go back to the deep.
Well, and I
You
always
know.
go back on being a non-medical person, but just commonsensical. Like even when they tried
Mhm.
to do this to Marty when he was sick, I just kept saying like, but how is that the path out? How is it the path to
Mhm.
getting better? And that's the question I'm always asking, even as just a layperson, like, well,
Mhm.
is suppressing my immune system for a long period of time, is that going to make me well? It doesn't make
Well,
sense
no, it
to me.
doesn't. It doesn't. And you're absolutely right. And that's the questions we should be asking as physicians and healers is
And as
why
patients,
and as
as
patients, yeah. I mean, you have
patients,
a responsibility for your own health.
yes.
The problem is where you're going to find help is the training is not such that we're taught to look for reasons. We're taught to find solutions. And so the solution is if you have an autoimmune disease, we're going to suppress the immune system without because it's always the short-term gain. Let's stop, let's make you comfortable now, and we'll worry about the other stuff later.
When I remember when Marty, they said, you have a mystery autoimmune condition, and here's your list of the drugs you're going to take. I remember saying, but you don't know what it is. Like that was another
Hmm.
thing that I couldn't
Hmm.
wrap my head around was like, but don't you need to know what it is? Or
Hmm.
like, like the mystery part was like, and it was like, yeah, we don't need to know that. It doesn't matter. And that just never sat well. But let's go back to the skin thing,
Yeah.
because like you say all the time, you're seeing loads of children coming in. So her story started as a child. And here it is now she's getting into her midlife and it's getting worse and worse and
Hmm.
worse and
Hmm.
worse. And she's being told it's not curable. This horrible side effects from the things they're recommending. So she ends up coming like, does this deeper healing place have something different to offer? No one ever thought about metal toxins
No.
as anything to do
Well,
with a skin condition,
people
like
don't think about toxicity in general.
at all.
But nickel sensitivity is well known and well recognized. People, oh, I can't wear jewelry because
Oh, right.
I can only wear
Gold
gold,
or, yeah,
18 karat or 21 karat gold, or I can only wear
yeah.
platinum, or I can only do sterling silver because the nickel is mixed in all these things. And people like just take that, oh, it's just nickel sensitivity, just don't wear nickel.
So you're out there, you're hearing this, you're like, wait a minute, I have horrible psoriasis. Like, what should I do? So you would say,
I would say find
check
a
your
reason,
toxins,
checks,
like
yeah,
find out your
absolutely.
thing.
And also, a lot of eczema psoriasis is it's well, let's go back for just a second. Is what is autoimmunity? Is your body really attacking itself? And
Oh, I
that
hate
doesn't
that
make
one.
sense.
I hate that one.
And it's because it's a mistaken identity. When your
Mhm.
body reacts to something, it's reacting to a protein sequence in that thing. Well, people have heard about rheumatic fever at some
Mm.
point. I mean, it used to be very common, before they came up with penicillin for strep
Mhm.
throat. It's involved with the body attacking the valves in the heart. Well, the body isn't really attacking your valves as a result of having an infection. The problem is the body has, in its attempt to control the infection by attacking the strep germ that caused it, it attacked a certain protein sequence in that germ. It's not attacking the whole beta strep germ. It's
Okay.
attacking a protein sequence in that germ that in you happens to also look like your heart valve.
Mm.
So your body's going, oh, there's a strep germ.
And now all
So
of a
it's a
sudden,
mistaken identity thing.
okay.
So we got two issues here. We got to figure out why is your system
Flaring up,
flaring up to begin with?
right.
And then you're talking about, is it food sensitivities? Is something in food, particularly in kids, eczema in kids, I can almost guarantee you got a leaky gut and you're reacting to foods.
Or you're born with high
Or you're
toxins
born with high toxin loads because
from,
because
your
mom lived next
parents.
to aluminum plant.
I was thinking that because, like, I think of my own kids. I had
Yeah.
one with horrible eczema, and the pediatrician's always like, put the steroid creams on, and it was like back right afterwards, and I'm like, this isn't a way out.
Yeah. But
So how do you,
look at the rash or the eczema, psoriasis, hives. Look at that as the fire,
as a signal?
as a
Yeah,
fire.
yeah.
Well, you can put out the fire with antihistamines or steroid creams or immunosuppressants, but who's the arsonist?
Okay. Like it. Like it.
If you don't find the arsonist, he's just going to go light a fire someplace else.
Right. Okay.
So, it's all about finding who's got the matches.
Okay. And let's get that.
Get the matches out of his hand.
Get that.
Then worry about the
down.
fire.
Do you think it's useful for people? Okay. So one of the first things I did after hearing this story was like, I got to look up where I grew up. Did we have a factory down the street? And I grew up in Pennsylvania. I grew up in a very urban Philly environment, Philadelphia, and have high lead and a lot of toxins, I'm sure.
Filthy Delphia.
Yeah, there is a thing about that. And, but I think all these big urban cities, high population.
Just be urban.
There's
There's last count somewhere in the vicinity of 1,343 Superfund sites across the country.
So is it worthwhile to look that up? So I did a little Google search. Where are all the Superfund sites in the United States? And there's a map. And it comes up and you can see, and then there's all the dots and you're like, oh, I grew up here. Okay, let me look at those. So when you click on it, it literally will show you, oh, asbestos, whatever the culprit was. And you can look at mine was there was a naval air base that had a big thing that ran into the water and they had to go clean it up.
And guess what they're doing with the naval air base? Air bases are doing fire drills all the time.
That's
They're
what it
using
was. It was the
foams,
foams.
the chemicals in the foam, and a lot of those chemicals have the forever chemicals.
And they were in the water.
That's the PFOA, PFOS. It's just all those guys. The PFASs are in the water supply now.
So, that's something free that anybody could do. It's look up, where did I grow up? Where are those Superfund sites? But that's just one little part of the story.
And it doesn't have to be a huge Superfund site. There was a case back when I was learning environmental medicine that Dr. Crinion had mentioned, and it was a person that had high level of carbon tetrachloride, which is no longer used. It was common in dry cleaners. And it turned out the carbon tetrachloride was in their well water. They said, well, how did that get in well water? Well, they looked back and a mile down the road, 10 years before they bought this house or sunk their well, there was a dry cleaners there.
Oh my gosh.
So it doesn't have to be a Superfund site in order to have a contaminated environment.
So then really the most efficient way to figure it out is to test yourself.
Exactly.
Really that's because it doesn't matter. We're all living in the world and you can't possibly know, there was an old dry cleaner down the street before I was born, like Kelly's story.
Yeah.
This factory had been closed before she was even born, but also it's pummeled her family's health. And then, when we were off air, Kelly and I were like, how many people from that area are dealing with memory care, memory loss, all the things,
Yeah. You screw with your immune system and you're dealing with your body's ability to manage everything from the common cold to cancer.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just your immune system to me is really the ultimate. It's what you need in order to heal. It's what you need in order to grow and protect. It's what you need to beat off the bad boys and reinforce the good guys.
So one thing our listeners can do is learn that psoriasis and eczema is a bigger story. That's number one. It's a bigger story. The second thing you can do is you can go on the deeperhealing.com website and there's a free toxin quiz.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bunch of questions that'll ask you, that'll give you an assessment for free, where you are, highest things to look at in your life. And if you end up having a high score, oh shoot, I got some issues, you can get to environmental testing, and see where you are and heal yourself, get yourself better. How do I reverse? Kelly is having a remarkable recovery from things that were told to be incurable.
When her hands started drying up, I was just thrilled beyond words because she first came in, she had white gloves on that were soaking through with blood and stain. It was just, you could see the pain on her face just to move her hands.
Oh my gosh.
So it's been remarkable. But she was a case of, that was the fire. And we were able to kind of squelch the fire while we were getting rid of the arsonist simultaneously, which is possible. You don't always have to arrest the arsonist first and then put out the fire. You can work on them both simultaneously, but you got to work on them both.
I didn't realize that she was literally in gloves with bloody hands.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't realize it was to that level. So this is a completely life-changing, priceless change for her life. Yeah. When she said eczema, I just thought, what I normally see, like just like the
No,
dry.
this was
Really
long
severe.
way beyond that.
I'm going to ask her for some pictures to pop them in here. But anyway, okay, so wrapping up, amazing story, incredible science. And as Dr. B says all the time, these are the rocks that no one's looking under. No one's looking under the rocks of toxins that have pummeled your health and manifesting in a wide variety of ways. No one ever would have connected a skin condition on the hands to aluminum toxicity from childhood. That's a very big gap.
Well, aluminum exposure. We got to be careful
Okay.
how we use the word toxin.
Oh,
The
okay.
government gets really fussy about that sort of
Oh,
thing.
okay. Do tell.
Yeah.
I don't know what the
Well,
difference
yeah.
is.
Well, toxicity implies an acute change, generally life or limb threatening. Hers what clearly.
This seemed a little life and limb threatening.
Well, limb actually potentially because it gets infected, and I mean, it was her skin barrier was severely compromised, and so repeated infections are not uncommon in that situation.
Yeah.
And you get the wrong bug in there with an impaired immune system to begin with, and yeah, it could be, but it can't link that directly to the effect of only the aluminum.
Okay. So as she
It's
cleansed and as she
as
dealt with
got
her
rid of
metal
all the other
exposures,
stuff,
she
molds, metals, chemicals.
her skin and her
Sure.
body on the cellular level healed.
Yep.
And that is basically what deeper healing does in
A nutshell.
a nutshell. All right, we're going to end on that. And for anybody out there who has a lot of passion for helping people at Deeper Healing who cannot afford treatments, check out the link for the Deeper Healing Foundation, the link below for the toxin quiz. Take the quiz and figure out what's going on with you for free, and we'll help you stay clean. Okay, stay well, everybody. We hope this episode inspired you. Here's how to go deeper. Visit deeperhealing.com to become a patient. Online, we have loads of courses and a free toxin quiz. Subscribe, and please, please share this episode with someone who needs it. It's always that one-on-one support that really gets people to find deeper healing. Remember, this is educational content, not medical advice. The information shared here should be discussed with your own personal healthcare provider. If you're excited by listening to the medical experts or the personal recovery stories on here and you want to start your own deeper healing journey, go to deeperhealing.com and start your process.